Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, good morning. I think maybe for most persons it's afternoon, except for maybe Stacy Kirk. Hi, everyone, and welcome to New Age Technology Panel. That's a part of this GSS Career Fair. Welcome. We have quite a few persons who are going to be participating in this panel discussion today. And I, Stacy Hines, your host, I'm really excited to be here. I'm wearing the hat today of President of Jamaica's Technology and Digital Alliance, which is the enabler and empower of IT professionals and vendors in the ICT sector within Jamaica and the Caribbean region, as well as the diaspora. So for all of you persons who are on this particular panel, clearly you're interested in technology, so you should definitely be checking out the Jamaica Technology and Digital Alliance and seeing what we have in that space. Joining me today, I actually have three panelists, two of which are currently present. And we're going to be taking you through a vibrant conversation about new age technologies and is that technology is such a significant aspect of the GSS program. So with me today, we have Egbert von Frankenberg, who is CEO of Nightfox App Design. And we also have Stacy Kirk, who is CEO of Quality Works Consulting. And joining us shortly, hopefully, is Gavin Dennis, who is Director of GS Cybersecurity, Inc. Now, each of these wonderful panelists is going to actually give you a little bit more background on themselves once we actually get into the discussion. But first, I'm going to give you a quick intro to the whole concept of why technology is so key to the success of the Global Skills Services program that is currently being rolled out and revamped in the region. Well, for many of you who are on, you may be aware of the success of business process outsourcing in terms of call center and customer service support through this region. To emphasize the Global Skill Services wants to be able to expand the thinking that outsourcing and nearshoring opportunities only exist in the customer service arena. As a matter of fact, 20 to 25% right now of the outsourcing is within the knowledge process outsourcing and the information technology outsourcing segment. And we believe that it can be significantly larger than that. And so programs like this one are put in place to ensure that individuals like yourselves have the information necessary so that you can start to chart your career path beyond service and also get into other areas that could look towards new technology engagement, from things in the space of cybersecurity, cloud technology, application development, software development, business analysis, project management, data analysis, quality assurance and testing, and several other key areas that are in the space of technology. And we also want to ensure that you are feeling empowered to step fully into this space. And that's exactly the reason behind the Global Services Sector Project. It seeks to support the government of Jamaica to develop the sector through strengthening the of which you are all potential members, and strengthening the investment in the ecosystem to increase foreign direct investment, which basically means to increase external investment in the sector and ensuring that you are able to attract opportunities, not just locally, but also on a global scale. Now, since technology is evolving at such a rapid pace, it is changing the way that we communicate and the way that we do business. So on this basis, some time today just talking about new and trending technologies and the opportunities that could exist for you as a potential career path in these spaces. So first, I want to toss over to Egbert, who is going to start off by telling us a little bit about himself and discussing then the concept of cloud technology, which of course, many of us have heard about cloud. We've actually all been in the cloud for a while. Once you're on the internet, I like to think that you're in the cloud once you're on the internet. And so Egbert is going to be helping us to understand that space a little bit better, talking about some of the current and emerging opportunities in that space, and then also maybe discuss some of the shortcomings that are being that are present in labor demand. So Egbert, over to you for you to give us a quick intro. Welcome, Gavin. Thanks so much for joining us. We're just moving on into the segment where each of our panelists is going to give us an intro and then talk about their area. So go ahead, Egbert, and you go first. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Egbert von Frankenberg. I'm CEO of Nightbox App Design. We are a Jamaican-based software development company with clients within Jamaica and also across the globe. The furthest away that we have is Fiji and Papua New Guinea. That's all where we have our clients from. So it can get quite exciting, and it's an interesting job opportunity here from the Caribbean, because we are, as Stacey has mentioned, we're in the nearshore sector. So we most of the time work with clients in the US and in Canada. So that's the main market that we're dealing with. And, we're in the same time zone. We have similar cultural affinities. So it is a very good symbiotic relationship with the US market and the Canadian market to outsource to the Caribbean rather than India or any other country. So our focus is a lot on cloud computing, cloud migration, developing applications in the cloud. That also includes mobile applications, because they all need to be connected somehow. And so what we focus on is providing solutions that are intricate in the way that the cloud products are designed. Probably many of you know about, you store your files in the cloud, you have servers in the cloud, but there are so many intricacies on how these different technologies and projects can be bolted together and put together. And it's what we call cloud architecture design. And I'm actually giving a guest lecture at UTech at the end of July, which discusses the concept of distributed cloud architecture design. Any of you that are interested in that kind of deep knowledge, we're more than welcome to join that course end of July. But what we do is we are looking for in the Caribbean, we can train up. So for example, there's a bit of a lack right now when it comes to training on cloud computing in universities. So we actually, anyone that comes to our company, we actually do additional training specifically on how to use cloud technology. We use training courses that are designed and approved by companies like Amazon. Amazon is like the #1 cloud computing provider in the world. So we work close with Amazon actually to get these courses the right way, do the right training, and also then work with Amazon closely when it comes to our clients. It's a very good relationship, and Amazon actually itself is very much investing into the Caribbean right now, finding more companies like ours to work with Amazon and bring the Caribbean more into the cloud. Because the infrastructure is coming together, everything is working, the internet connectivity is getting better, so there's a lot more eyes coming into the Caribbean, which is amazing. So we're actually really in a growth spurt right now, and so we're looking for more and more to come into this space. Now, if you are not someone that has a degree in computer science, that is still okay, because there's a lot of courses related to cloud computing and cloud architecture design that are considered for someone like a pre-sales agent. So there's certain courses that are designed. So if you're saying, boy, I don't understand any coding, that's okay. There's things where we can train you to understand at least how the technology functions, so that you can assist within a team to build the right architecture, so that then a developer can take that information to build the application on top of it. So there's many different opportunities out there, and I'm welcoming any one of you to look deeper into it and become part of this revolution, because you hear things like AI and machine learning and robotics and blockchain, and those are all fancy, great terms. And yes, we work in a lot of these fields, but it all is based on understanding distributed cloud architecture. So it's important that this is the foundation that you need to understand if you want to go into this high-tech space.
Thank you for that, Egbert. And what's interesting, and I actually like that, and I'll bring us back to that point a little bit later on in the discussion, is where you actually mentioned, the sales component of things, that you can actually support these companies by being a sales associate or an account executive, so to speak, where it doesn't have to
Right.
be as technical in nature.
That's
So
correct.
thank you very much for that. All right, so I'm going to flip down to Stacy now. Hi, Stacy. Welcome.
Hello.
Stacy, CEO of Quality Works Consulting. She's going to introduce herself and then talk a little bit about her experience in IT as a female founder of a major, well, two software firms now.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Yes, my name's Stacy. I've been in this space now for over 25 years. I started my career as a software developer, had an opportunity to do software testing and realized that this was an area that was in need of a lot of efficiency. There was a lot of process problems. And so I steered my career in the area of software quality and process improvement, and opened in 2010 Quality Works Consulting Group here in Los Angeles. And in 2015, we expanded to Kingston, Jamaica. And our focus is really agile delivery with a focus on quality. We have clients all over the world, most of them in the United States, some in the UK, a few in Jamaica as well. And what I think is really exciting and about being in the space of Jamaica is that their women are even more empowered than any of the other countries that I've worked with. And so it's a great opportunity in technology for women in Jamaica on a global scale. I think what is really a valuable kind of following on with Egbert, I think we are definitely in a space where cloud computing is the default. It's where we are moving forward. And I love to see people that have passions that are very creative, because as we expand in technology, creativity is going to be the differentiator from just writing code or doing development or DBA. So it's really about what is unique about yourself and how can you fit that into technology. One of the things that I recommend to anyone that asks me, how do I get into technology? Where do I start? Where I don't know what I'm passionate about, is I tell them, you don't need to worry about passion. You need to look for opportunity to get experience. And don't be scared of what's out there. Everyone feels like they need to know it all, but there's no way. It's called technology for a reason. We're on the edge of it every year, every month. There's something new. So the best thing to do is to try something, and it gives you an experience in the process. It gives you an understanding of what you like or what you don't like. And in our company, we have people that come from all diverse backgrounds, and they come in to consult with large companies like NBC Universal or Legacy.com, and they bring their perspective, even if they never got a software development or computer science degree. Because when it comes to especially the areas of quality, when it comes to project management, agile project management, being a business analyst or UI, UX, those are areas where it takes perspective. It takes people that think differently, sometimes to merge with developers that maybe are very laser focused on getting code out and really understanding the people that use the, which is you and I. And so I think it's exciting time, no matter what your skill set is to get an opportunity, volunteer. I know when I say volunteer to my team, they go, Stacey, we don't have time for volunteer. Is not realistic. But you don't have to volunteer a lot of time. But as an employer, I've been hiring for 25 years. It's a question I always ask. What do you do outside of what you're asked to do? And so that really is what I think will make you unique when you do look for a job. What have you learned? What have you tried to do to gain experience in all of the areas, any of the areas I mentioned, or Egbert, or what Gavin is mentioning? And you'll be surprised if you leverage LinkedIn. You can reach out to the experts in these areas and ask them, is there something I can do? Can I work with you? Can I get some advice from you? And you'll be surprised how many people are open to train and develop The doors are open. This is a global world right now. You don't have to be in an office with one person to get that expertise. And so I just encourage people to, especially my women, to go for it. Don't worry if you don't know it all. Nobody knows it all. Some people do it very well and pretend they do, but it's hard to know it all because it's changing so quickly.
Thanks for that, Stacey. And I actually love the pulling in of more the softer skills into the conversation, because I do think that techies, who are all of us here, have kind of been branded a very technical engineering, like, type of minds, and needing to have that kind of technical skill set. And the truth is that those soft skills are just as important, if not even more important, bringing that creative side to things. So I think definitely, guys, you want to tap into that. And just for a little bit of sharing on my part, I was actually a QA previous life, or one of the previous roles I had. I actually spent 3 years in the quality assurance space, and it was one of the most interesting things that I did, because I didn't like the coding, but boy, did I love finding problems with the code. So
you get an opportunity to work with cross-functional teams.
Yes.
And so, coding, sometimes you just sit there and work on one thing. That's what I liked about software testing. I could go talk to the business, I could go talk to customers, and really get an understanding of all the different areas. And for someone that doesn't know what they want to do, it's a good place to figure it out.
Yes, absolutely. Good point. All right. So Gavin, I'm going to flip to you now and just ask you to give a brief introduction of yourself and a little bit about what you do, and then talk about why cybersecurity is an important field in this technological age. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Sorry. Thanks, Stacey. So, hi, everyone. My name is Gavin Dennis, and I'm a director at G5 Cybersecurity. What we do essentially is to help businesses protect against cyber attacks and privacy breaches. So essentially helping them to not get hacked. All right. Now, in the global context, what's happening with cybersecurity is that it's a booming industry for multiple reasons. Some good and some not so good. So now with cybersecurity, it's primarily about protecting data against abuse and misuse. And based on where the industry is going now, and just the whole thing of technology, where we're relying so heavily on technology to live our daily lives, security is becoming more and more essential towards using tech. So back in the days, it used to be about just allowing technology to work. Now there is a huge requirement for technology to work in a secure way, because people are now concerned about the data being exposed, and this has varying consequences. Recently in the US, a company that sells oil, fuel, they were hacked, and because of that, the pipeline was shut down, and that has a ripple effect. Now, for the cybersecurity industry, it's what's a bit unique about it is the physical world and physical crime is now being transferred to being digital. And unlike in the physical world where you need to be a police officer and you need to go through certain rigorous trainings before you can engage in that space, for cybersecurity, it's much easier. It's easier for you to jump in and be a part of the solution. And because it's becoming so critical, where criminals are moving away from robbing people on the street and now trying to rob businesses digitally and online, it means that there is this very high demand for an industry that has less barriers for you to get in, and is something that you can do from anywhere in the world. So you're not limited to supporting a company that is in your vicinity. You can stay wherever you are now, and you can be supporting a company in Poland, in the US, and wherever, because everything that we do in cybersecurity, because of the cyber portion, it is fully digital. So it means that this industry is at your fingertips, and literally at your fingertips in terms of your PC and your phone. So it's a very booming, vibrant, and lucrative industry for you to consider a career.
No, thank you very much for that, Gavin. And just to pull on a couple of the points that you raised, we have shifted from just focusing on technology working to technology working in a secure way. And even when it comes to something as simple as using our phones, right? I think persons now are a lot more present to, needing to get that two-factor authentication going, which is something that used to drive me crazy. I never want to do this two-factor thing. But now, let me tell you, it's like everything have a password and everything locked down because you just don't want to be susceptible to the potential harm that's out there. And another thing that I thought was really key that you brought up was the fact that entering in this space, there's a low barrier for entry, and that it's also borderless. And I think if nothing else, that applies to all of the areas that we're going to talk about today, or that we are talking about today, because with the pandemic, that was advanced. So even where we weren't in our mindsets before, where people still thought you had to be in person for lots of meetings and you have to show up in an office, I think the pandemic has really fast-tracked that belief system and the culture around it, especially in Jamaica and the Caribbean region. So we're definitely on the more of that. Now, Egbert, I want to flip back over to you and just kind of maybe pick your brain around some of the shortcomings that you think exist in labor demand and the output of persons in software development specifically, and any other IT-related fields.
Well, I think over the last 5 years, we have seen a bit of a turnaround. It was a lot harder 5 years ago to find talent, in particular in Jamaica. And I think that has changed now. And it's becoming easier to find talent in Jamaica and the Caribbean. So I think the trend is there and it goes into the right direction. And I'm very happy to see it. We've been able to increase our team as well, especially during COVID, because as you mentioned, everybody's going more digital. It means there's more work for us to help companies going more digital. So, and I must say it's becoming easier and easier to find talented people in Jamaica. However, there is, as I mentioned before, there is this lack of understanding cloud architecture. And so that's where we see the shortcomings. So there's this base knowledge on coding and coding methodologies, but then how do you apply that to an architecture design that is, multi-tiered systems? So, a separate database server from an application server to a load balancer to a function, something that just handles a function, or, how all of these different points can be interconnected rather than just back in old days sitting on one server. So that mindset of distributed cloud architecture is what I am very keen on bringing into everybody's forefront, and understand that how these things are important to develop, sound solutions that are scalable, secure, and functional.
And possibly, whether maybe you know this already, but is it something that you think will be included in the training program, that is the certificate training that is going to be made available by the GSS project? Is that something that your firm is going to be participating in?
Yes, so there will be training paths into cloud architecture, and also our company will be taking internships, of course, for early entry. And there's also going to be certain, I'm not sure how much I'm already allowed to mention of what's going to happen in the next couple of years, but there will also be things like an apprenticeship. So if you look at, so for example, Gavin right now speaking to us from Germany, and I'm German, so I have a great example here. Apprenticeship is a very unique functionality within German skill development, right? And I think bringing this here and implementing similar applications in Jamaica, where you have your theoretical knowledge brought to you, but then also the practical knowledge from a workplace, and you can marry the two while you develop your skills, is very important. Many times we've seen developers come out of university with straight theory knowledge, and they can code brilliantly when you tell them exactly what to do, but they're lacking the problem solving skill, right? They're lacking the practical knowledge of saying, okay, this is what I need to do, and how to get there. I know how to figure it out myself. So that kind of problem solving skills and practical application skills is what's gonna be important to assist in the skill development.
That's an excellent point. And actually, I lived in Canada for a few years, and that's where I really got exposed to their co-op program, which is very much an apprenticeship program. The software development company that I used to work with, we would bring on, apprentices. They're in school, but a part of actual college life was
Right.
this spending a year or even 2 years for some persons inside of a development company, a software development company, and working on a team, and that would be a part of their experience, and their qualifications. And many times they got jobs right after, right? It's a perfect opportunity to get seated in. Yeah. So that's excellent.
I'll echo both of what both of you are saying. So it's definitely helps when you go into a job interview, when they can see that you have the technical skills, but you also understand how it's practically applied in the real world, the good and the bad. And I think not only is it good for getting a job, but it's also helps you set expectations of, what it's like in the working world, in the technology world, how fast paced it can be, how kind of chaotic it can be at times as well.
No, and thanks for that, Stacey. And actually, that's kind of the point that I wanted to raise with you and ask you to weigh in on. As a woman in tech, my journey actually started coming out of school with my CIS degree, Computer Information Systems degree. Immediately, the opportunities that I got were linked to for development coding, right? And I sucked. I was just horrible, right? But I used to work for ADT Security Services, and I was answering fires or burglar alarms or whatever, but they knew I was doing this degree in tech. And so when I graduated, they immediately were like, are you interested in relocating to Florida? And I was, and they said, our office is there, we're looking for C++ developers. And I just kind of went along with it. Okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but hey, they said I should go in this direction. And so I moved to Boca, and I tried for 3 months to be this person that I really was not, right? And eventually I got into Microsoft training for executive training. I have a ton of Microsoft training centers that you could go and get, certified and so forth. And I fell into training, and I absolutely loved it. And from training to instructional design, but I felt like I was feeling my way around in the dark. Whereas when I looked at my male counterparts, they just seemed to be just like head on, knew exactly what they wanted to do, plugged right in. So where do you see the kind of gap for women in the space? And maybe with, either your experience or seeing other women, how do we kind of find our way, and feel less like we're feeling around in the dark?
Yeah. Well, I think both ways, being laser focused, this is exactly what I want to do. I did know from probably 15, I wanted to be a computer scientist. I didn't know what it was about, but I knew I wanted to do it. But at the same time, your path and your journey is a valid one. And because you have the software testing experience, the development experience, I'm pretty sure that's why you've been so successful in what you're doing today, because you have these different perspectives to bring. And so I never want to tell someone, listen, if you can't figure out in your first year what area of technology you want to do, then you're not doing the right thing. I feel like it's a journey for many people, and those that I've mentored through their careers over 20 years, I can see the ones that tried more things have become coaches and instructors and have been their own mentors in a way. So I don't know if there's a right path. I think as women, we want to have some validation that we're doing the right thing. We're kind of cautious, and we want to make sure we're making those correct steps. And I just tell people, you can't know unless you try it. Do that apprenticeship, try some role. You're going to love it or hate it, but it's also going to open up those doors for the other things that you may be extremely good at. And if you hate development, like I didn't like development. I could do it well, but it was boring to me. But when I talk to people as an agile coach, and they say, hey, I don't know how to get around this situation, I have a deeper level of understanding of their perspective because I've been there and I've done it. So that's my advice is always just try it. Try it, and trust me, there's enough need right now in technology that even if you're not a developer, there's so much more value you can add. And that's what I enjoyed about it, was that there's if you just leave developers to develop and you don't come up with a strong process, you don't come up with good quality procedures, we wouldn't be where we are today. We needed both. And so I think there's value to add both ways.
Thanks for that. And to pull from one of the things that you said just now, you talked about, just try it and, find your way either through, exactly what it is you want to try, or opportunity arises and you get to participate in it like an apprenticeship. Gavin, if we're talking about cybersecurity, and one of the discussions we actually had the prep session for this conversation was just around, not necessarily needing that degree, which you mentioned earlier, but what are some of the skills that persons in this room may need to think about when considering cyber? What are some of the things that they need to be, considering as areas that they need to focus on?
So, there's a lot. The industry is very, very broad. So that's the first thing. And there are a lot of different things that you can do. You can specialize in so many areas. So, for example, first up, I don't have a degree, right? So for everyone else that's here, it's possible to make progress in the industry without having a degree. Now, I primarily focus on the offensive side of security called penetration testing, or AKA ethical hacking. Now, even within that segment, there are other areas that you can specialize in and have an entire career. So you can focus on just doing ethical hacking for web applications or just for mobile apps, and that's an entire career by itself. So do your research because it's a very broad industry. Think about the things that you like. And as Stacey said, Stacey Kirk, that try different things. So what people often ask me is they often ask what they should do, as in they want me to tell them which area of security they should go into. But based on your aptitudes, your likes and dislikes, and the things that naturally drive you, that should help to guide where you go. But you won't really know unless you try them. Example, the section of the industry called incident response, which is the whole process of responding when something goes bad, whenever there's a security issue. That requires someone who has patience, because you have to dig and you have to search and you don't always get the answers right away. But if you're someone who, you don't really have, it's not something that you like to go on a whole investigative hunt, that's not your thing, then you shouldn't go down that path. But you won't know unless you kind of try out a little bit of the incident response, a little bit of the pen testing, a little bit of auditing. And then you'll start to figure out, no, I don't really like that. This interests me more. And what interests you, you feed it, you feed into it. And over time, you will develop, you will start to research a bit more in that area, and your skills and knowledge will develop. You'll become qualified and you'll actually like what you're doing on a daily basis.
Yep. And I would like to ask Gavin a question. We both want to add. Go ahead first.
Because Gavin said he doesn't have a degree. So how did you start? What was the first things that you learned to then build upon that? What are these building blocks that you use?
I really just had a lot of initiative, or I was very self-driven. So I started out in the field of auditing and accounting at first. So I was an accountant, really. So, but I was always someone who I was working and I was studying. So I started working at age 17. So I was working and studying, and it was a continuous process of just going to evening classes, passing this little exam, passing that little exam, moving up, and realizing that, I'm making slow progress, and I continued on that track. The big benefit for me was I was gaining experience, and I realized that companies really valued the experience as opposed to someone who only has a qualification. And it really just built over time. But I had a lot of initiative, because there are people who said, hey, you have to go and do a degree or you're not going to move up, and X companies aren't going to hire you. And I really just believed in myself, and I continued to fund my education. I continued to study and go to school while I was working, and it all paid off.
Just to kind of to continue on what Egbert has said, because even with great initiatives, sometimes a company is not going to give you a chance, right? So this is where I'm kind of curious as well, Gavin, because you talked about, having a lot of initiative and going to school, but then who is going to say, okay, I'll allow you the space to test out what you're learning? Because, how are we grading our professionals is a key component of that. So how did you find being able to transition towards saying, I have initiative, let me prove it, and somebody actually giving you the space to do that?
So I was very persistent, all right, and I believe that the work I was doing, it sort of spoke for itself. So when I landed my first IT related job, because I got tired of the whole accounting field, and this was after about 5 years, and I wanted to make the transition. Before I did that, I'd contacted about 3 persons to say, hey, I'd like to make this switch. What are the qualifications you think I should do to get into IT audit? And about 6 months later, I had passed the exam for that certification while I was still in an accounting auditing role. And I re-engaged them to say, hey, I've done this thing, is there any space in your company? So I believe for just for me, it was about being able to show the proof that I'm putting in the work, and that I am serious about this thing that I claim to want. Because those persons, they could see that, this is the same guy that contacted me 6 months ago or a year ago asking for advice, and he has made progress towards it. So it spoke, I believe it spoke a lot for itself, because there were persons who maybe already had the qualifications, maybe such as a degree, but maybe there wasn't much of a proof that they are serious about developing and growing in the area. So I believe that is what helped in my situation.
That's important. And confidence too. I can see you have that as well. So
yes.
Being confident that if you don't know it, you will.
Yes. Stacey, you were going to add something else?
Yeah, just a couple things. So my second company is Posture. It's a cybersecurity and privacy platform to help small businesses get compliant. And it was it evolved and was created through the Kingston, Jamaica office. And so we have a strong understanding of that need and that demand in cybersecurity. There's actually more demand for cybersecurity professionals than software developers globally. And people don't know that. But the problem is a lot of those people that get the training can't get the roles because they don't have the experience. It's extremely critical to have it. And I have so many people that come to me, especially from the university, and say, I want to do security. But really all they want to do is hack all day. And they think that's what security is, being a hacker all day. And I go, listen, there's so much more, like you said, Gavin, to it. I mean, at fundamentally, if it's software development or if it's cybersecurity, there needs to be organizational process and procedures in place. And that's what makes things run properly. That means documentation, that means collaboration. And so there's a need for that in cybersecurity. Even if you're like, hey, I can't hack. I've seen these movies. I can't write in Unix code and do all of that kind of stuff. But there's still that fundamental core of cloud computing, but also having strong process and procedure.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Now I'm present to the time, so we're going to just wrap up with a final kind of thought and question here. So, based on what I'm hearing, there are quite a few soft skills that are also required along with that learning. So we constantly in the technology space have to learn, relearn, unlearn, and take on that whole new skills frontier in order to be successful in this space. Egbert, I just want to get any parting words that you have for the persons who are a part of it relates to really being skilled up, and any of the qualifications that companies like yours would be looking for persons to have, whether it's a soft skill or any kind of certification, in order to take a step towards participating in the space that you've been talking about, which is primarily cloud architecture and development.
Yeah, sure. Well, for us, the degree, yes, it has a certain important aspect to know that you've been trained or you understand software methodologies, because and my business partner can probably speak a lot better on it than I can, because he is the guy with the computer science degree. I'm just the business degree guy. So what he always says is, if you understand programming methodologies, it's very important to him, rather than you say, I'm excellent at one particular language. So that's, for example, one thing that we're looking out for. So, and another thing for recruitment for us, we always look at your GitHub code. That's one thing that we look at. We look at how you write code, how you write functions. Those are some of the things that we look at. So it might not be that you have a degree, but if you have a GitHub account and you post code, and we can see or review some of the code that you have written, we use that to determine your skill level and where we can fit you in. And then on the other side, sometimes you don't have all the practical skills, but you have the necessary soft skills, right? And I worked at Sandals for a couple of years, and the late Butch Stewart always said, you hire for attitude and you train the skill. And it is true. If you have someone that is trainable, someone with a soft skill set and maybe the foundation, that is a lot more valuable to me than someone that has bad attitude but is the greatest coder.
Thank you so much for that, Egbert. And Gavin, any final thoughts on that?
Yes, I'd like to add discipline, because there are a lot of things in the industry that you might, whichever area you choose to specialize, some things just aren't fun. There are some documentation that you'll have to read to understand certain things, and it really just requires that you have discipline to know that, okay, this isn't fun, this isn't the cool side of things, but it's necessary and important to learn and to be dedicated to understand. So having discipline, that will help to take you through the times where it's not so easy and it's not so fun.
Awesome, thank you for that. And Stacey, final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Invest in your emotional intelligence. It's one of the things that my CTO friends and I talk about a lot. It goes with what was just said here. And then take advantage of opportunities. I think Egbert said that they do some training. My company does a free boot camp on testing. The JCS, JTDA, there's so many opportunities now for free technical training. Take advantage of every opportunity you can. It will open doors.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. I just want to reiterate some of those amazing points that came out. A lot of soft skills points, guys, in terms of being open, being open and curious, confident, assertive, and where you may not be as confident and assertive, you can explore. So using that exploratory and curious aspect of your beingness will help you to start to maybe find your way in the space. And then making sure that you're bringing and putting your best foot forward. So having a great attitude and having discipline, because you will have the technical side of the work that's going to come up, and you'll need to be able to actually tap into that side of yourself in order to really do well in the space. We've also heard lots of conversations around not necessarily needing a degree, but being able to maybe take a certification or a class here or there in order to amplify your skill set. I love what Egbert said about having a GitHub account. I mean, we now have at our fingertips the ability to share our experiences very widely with nothing but our phone. You know, you don't necessarily have to have the best laptop or computer. You can literally show your skill set by taking that initiative that Gavin talked about earlier, opening up free accounts and participating as a part of a community. And then thinking about community, you want to become members of associations like the JCS, the Jamaica Technology and Digital Alliance, where you can, build a network, find mentors, access people like Stacy, who is a part of that community, or me, who's a part of that community, and start to build your network and your touch points to gain these free opportunities that may exist that you may not be aware of. So thanks so much, very much to my panelists, Egbert, Stacy, and Gavin, who have all shared from different aspects of the new technologies and emerging technologies in the space. And thank you so much for joining us as we talked about your potential career opportunities that are waiting for you guys to actually take that first step towards your next best tech self. Take care, everybody, and best wishes and good luck on your career journeys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right.